Again, we try again. Let's try joining a game and see what happens. Yep. Okay, it seems to be working fine now. All right, let me exit the game, so that we can have a private talk. Looks like my only 2 online friends aren't really online anyway. Okay.
Hey lady, I got some new things. You should take a look.
So there's an upcoming 2.1 patch. You know what? I can't do that right now. I'll overlay a screenshot or a couple screenshots of that to talk about it. Actually, let me go to it and I'll just read it. No, I'll add that in. Okay. So at this point, I'm gonna cut the video. I've been reading the forums, and I generally don't like to do that, but I have been curious about what the new patch is going to bring. So the reason why I've been reading the forums was to get information on that, and also to get a feel for what the players want, what they're complaining about, things like that. And with a game like this, where there's so many controversial or bad, controversial design features, or just bad design features, there's a level of frustration that accompanies the community posts, and it's pretty easy to take your shots at them because this game has a lot of really amateur design features to it. I played for some 10 years on the Neverwinter Nights public servers, and you would see the same kind of mindset go into the it's sort of like fling it against a wall kind of design, or listening to the players too much design, and that usually doesn't make a very cohesive game. Now, Reaper of Souls, a lot of people, and I'm even one of them, admit that there's an improvement to the game. Mainly this rift stuff. And here's the rift down here. And what you do, normally I play this in Torment 2, just because the only class that has like serious DPS, serious damage, is the Witch Doctor. So, because I had to sacrifice Vit on every item basically to get this much damage, I don't have very much life. Not even 300,000. And that's bad. I should have around 800,000. But I can't, because I need critical on everything. And that's a real serious problem with this game, is in order for you to get into the higher difficulty settings, you need to have critical hit chance, critical hit damage up the wazoo on every item. It You can't not have it. And I also need attack speed because it's just slow. The attacks are just retardedly slow. If I wanted to play a character that used a bunch of cooldown attacks, then I might be able to add Vit. But that's boring, you know. This isn't very fast, in my opinion. This is actually kind of slow. Like, if you compare this to Diablo 2, this would be 25% attack speed. So, that's something that I don't think they're going to address because they're dickheads over there at Blizzard. They don't like people having freedom and fun in their games. Or at least in this game. You know, World of Warcraft, it seems like people can run around and do stuff pretty ridiculously. I don't get it, like why they just have like put the screws to all the characters in this game. But you know, that's what happens when you get a bunch of StarCraft douchebags making an action game. They think from that perspective of balance instead of fun. To them, balance is fun. You know, it's more like they like to sit around and argue about balance instead of actually playing the game. It just by the way that I've seen the design go on this game, they're either trying to chase people off the servers, which doesn't make sense, and I don't think that that's the case because they've done some things that I think are good, like these Nephilim rifts and stuff like that are actually fairly addictive. The bounties are so whatever. It's just a means to an end, really. It doesn't excite you or anything like that. The rewards are pretty much nondescript. You basically get a resplendent chest after doing 5 runs, and you know, a few more resources. But item-wise, it's just like a non sequitur. So that leads me to where I'm gonna start giving little bits and pieces of advice. You know, after I throw out my, you know, Blizzard or douchebags things, I just can't help it because when I play this game, I feel like douchebags are making this game. I feel like I'm restricted in everything, and I'm forced to play their characters, not my character. And I'm stubborn, so I just continue to play my characters. So, you know, after my disqualifier on that, one of the complaints that I see on the forums is that doing the bounties, which are these things here, are boring and repetitive and not fun, and people don't like to do them. And there's a couple reasons for that, and I haven't heard that iterated on the forums, and I can't post on the forums because I got banned for spamming and trolling. Which is, you know, sort of true and sort of not true. I think that they banned me because they didn't want me posting on there more than they actually got me for spamming and trolling. Like, I never got a third warning. They just banned me. Or a second warning, I'm sorry. They banned me on the second warning. So whatever. You know, that's their fault. And it's their forum, so they can do whatever. But what I think of the reason is that it's boring is mostly because it's sort of random how long it takes to do some of these. So you can't quit them either. You can't skip them, I mean. You can't go, oh, I don't want to do this one. Let's see what this looks like, one of the ones where you have to kill 100 enemies. Yeah, kill 150 enemies. I don't want to do that one. Well, I'm going to go to this one. You know, because killing 150 enemies, kill all the guys in level 2, that means I got to find that place. I don't want to do that either. So then you go to this one. Okay, I can get to that one pretty quickly. And, you know, that should be that is what I think that people want to do. So what I would suggest is that you can do 5 bounties, and you can get your fragments for doing those 5 bounties, and turn them into material. You don't have to do the 5 in that particular act. That would be a good. I think that would be a good way, because now players will recognize which ones they don't want to do and which ones they do want to do, and skip them. To be locked into an act and to do all 5 of them, I think is where people are feeling a little bit bored. Uh, Another suggestion would be to get rid of the required kill enemies thing, because that's really the boring part of it, is when you get into one where you have to kill all 5 enemies. Uh, there's a bunch of dumb ones, like clear you know, the cursed chest, which I would dump completely. And, you know, to me, if I had designed it, it would have been a very simple thing. It would have been kill bosses, kill elites. Every single one of them would be a kill an elite, and the elites would have ridiculous drops. Not ridiculous, but like they might have a triple drop or something like that. And then I think people would do these more, or at least not feel like they're being forced to do slave labor in order to open up the Nephilim rifts. I myself went through the first couple weeks of playing the game not doing any Nephilim rifts and just doing the bounties. I didn't find them horrible, but I didn't find them to be what I expected. To me, the bounties would have been more like, go kill this boss. You get a bounty. You don't get bounties for, well, I guess you get bounties for, like in Baldur's Gate, you would get bounty rewards for collecting scalps of bandits, something like that. But then again, you weren't sort of sent out to do just that. That was just part of your collection. I was off doing something else.
Surely there is someone out there who
and I
would
was having to go
benefit from
through
our aid right
these.
now.
Shut up. I was having to go through the areas that had bandits, so I didn't mind, because then I can collect the scalps and go turn them in for gold pieces, and that was kind of cool. I would make sure that I cleared out an area as opposed to just kind of running roughshod through it, just to get those extra. But the rewards, like this was a D&D based game, which meant gold pieces mattered. You never ended up with 13 million gold unless you hacked the game. I don't even think the integer got that high. So, I mean, if Blizzard actually would listen to my advice on this, they'd probably hate hearing it, because it'd mean, oh, we got to go do a lot of work. Oh, we gotta get rid of all this crap and build in a bunch of other crap. But in reality, if you want people to play this game the way that it's sort of designed right now, the bounties need to get addressed, and the requirement of killing enemies is either too high or unnecessary. Like I said, I would just target the elites. There's tons of elites in every act, and you could have a pretty wide variety of things that you can do involving killing the elites. So I think that's what people really want, is they want to just kind of go after the guy, get him out of the way. I'm trying to think of an example, but let's go back to Diablo 2, since this is a Diablo game. One of the more popular things to do in Diablo 2, and I would say that this would be even prior to the 110 patch, was to enter a game and kill Mephisto, maybe Duriel, but definitely Mephisto, uh, Diablo, and Baal, and then rinse and repeat. Most of the time, we actually cleared the areas. In Diablo, in Arcane or not Arcane Sanctuary, but Chaos Sanctuary, you have to open up the 5 seals and kill the 3 bosses associated with those 5 seals. That to me would be more similar to what a long bounty would be, is go in and complete this thing. To kill Mathiel, the undead Lich King from World of Warcraft, you need to trounce through an entire level, which is a very long level, and it's too much. And I know that like going through and killing him should be a bounty, but like I said, it's too much. You have to go through 5 or 6 elites, 5 or 6 rare elites to get to him, and an entire act that is long, and it's not super easy either. For an experienced player, it's not a huge deal, but you know, I think that what they're thinking is like, well, there's going to be 4 players in the game, and you should just be rampaging over everything. And in some cases, that actually happens. But most of the time, you get bogged down a lot, and it takes like 15 minutes to do one bounty. Where a Nephilim Rift takes, you know, 15 or 20 minutes to open up the in some cases less. But if you're playing at like, you know, a difficulty where you're actually being challenged a little bit, it takes about 15 minutes to open up, 10 or 15 minutes to open up that Guardian. So when you compare the amount of time and effort that goes into something like a Mathiel run with a Guardian, it's not even a comparison. So people I think feel like they're having to pay a penalty for their time to collect those rift fragments. And I agree on some level, but at the same time, you know, I can see the design philosophy where you do these things and you open up the big hyper powered area and you get better drops in there. You know, you have to pay a price to get in there. That's why they're better drops. But if you log in and out of games continuously, you'll find yourself in rift runs at a much higher rate than bounty runs. Most people are doing rift runs. So the thing that I would suggest is that you would need to have those bounties either more controllable by the players, meaning that you can open 5 in any act, so you could skip over the ones that you know are long, and get your fragments, or get rid of the ones that, you know, take too long. If it takes more than 5 minutes to do that run, delete it. So that would be my advice on your bounties. Why they're boring. Now we can go to
Hey lady, I got some new things. You should take a look.
some skill stuff. They're going to be getting rid of one with everything, which is basically them listening to the players who bitch a lot instead of just leaving the game alone and saying, look, this thing is fine the way it is, which is, I think, how they feel. And most people that play monks that use one with everything are fine with it. You know, I don't get their desire to tamper with the monk. They said, which, you know, they're not credible anymore. I've caught them several times just flat out lying. So, one of them was that they said that they couldn't do a light radius, which was a lie because they could do it. It was actually built into the game before it was released.
Doesn't our friend ever tire?
When I accuse somebody
I've
of a lie,
hardly
I
seen
should
her rest
actually,
since we met.
and that was Wyatt Chang
Now
that
you
said
know
that.
why angels and
You know,
demons fear the
if I accuse
Nephilim,
people
Laura.
of being liars, I should actually state why I accuse them and, you know, refer to the lie. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, they said that they don't want to do things that cause people to have to re-gear their characters, but yet they released a patch that caused everybody to have to re-gear their characters. They didn't re-roll the items. They didn't do anything like that. They just legacied everything to Nerf World and cranked up the stats on all the new items so that everybody had to re-gear, which I found very annoying. You know, people paid money for a lot of the items that they had, and then they had to basically just throw them away because they didn't even give you resources. They gave you the same resources that a level 1 item would give you. So, you know, they screwed the whole fan base on that patch. And one with everything is going to be another one where everybody's going to have to re-gear their monk. I'm going to have to re-gear my monk because my monk is built around one with everything. And I was happy with the way that it turned out. And it wasn't that hard to gear them. You know, these complainers, you know, are just lazy-minded people. They, you know, it was easy. It took me like 3 days to gear for one with everything. So now I'm going to have to toss out all of my gear to put on resist all gear now. Thanks. I'm probably not even going to play my monk because I just don't feel like going through it again. And I don't think it's a necessary move. They want to redo the way that dexterity works. Now it's armor instead of dodge. You know, I don't really have a beef with that. But getting rid of one with everything and making it, what do they call it, miracle or mirage or whatever? I don't even know what it does. They're very vague on their description. There's a bunch of other things that they added in, like, you know, a ladder season and stuff like that.
When virtue tarries, evil smiles.
And special ladder gear that's gonna fall. And, you know, that's cool. But the gear is just stupid and bad. So I'm going to be basically getting a bunch of new models to transmogrify. Because that's all that this stuff is for anyway. It's not like the unique items are unique in any way. And they call them unique legendaries. There's set legendaries and unique legendaries. So, you know, for me to refer them as and compare them to uniques, well, they call them uniques. You know, I'll show you. In case you haven't played the game, you know, all these affixes come out randomly, and the problem with this is that they're stuck on stats on items. You know, what I would recommend is to get rid of the stats on items, except for on legendaries. You have a static stat, and maybe it's strength for a particular item or whatever. That's fine because, you know, I wouldn't mind having more than 77 strength. Or 77 dex on this character, and just put the stats that people are, you know, since you don't want people, you know, monkeying with their stats, just give them the stats that they're supposed to have at that level. Since they can't attribute them anyway, give them the stats that they're supposed to have, whatever it would be. I don't even know what would I have if I was naked. Yeah. 217. 8.77 damage without gear. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. I mean, I laugh at this game sometimes when I look at the way that they did things. Like I said, take the stats off the items. I'm supposed to have, 8,000 intelligence. Maybe I'm not supposed to have 8,000. Maybe I'm supposed to have 7,000. Level 70. Yeah, nice round number. So I get some extra from gear, but not a lot. And it's the gear that, like this one has 500 bonus intelligence. And I can throw in, for what I've got in, resource-wise, I can throw in 660 into the sockets and 220, 440 into this one. So I'm able to raise it up with gems. And I got 220 into this one too. Eventually these will all be 280. But I might have enough resources now, but I'm not sure. Back to what I was saying, they don't seem to want us to work on our stats. So just put, like I said, put the stats on. Like this belt here. This belt could be like, have some dex on it. That would be fine. Or maybe this belt has VIT. So it would be a popular belt because it has VIT. And then you could add other mods onto it that are like useful. Maybe one random bonus skill. I'm not cool with the bonus skill stuff either. I don't like the fact that all my gear is tailored towards the character that finds it. It's boring. Some of it is wizard specific, so it could have wizard specific stuff on it, but the fact that I find this and it's useless on anything except a wizard and a witch doctor because it's an intelligence item. And look, like it's got nothing going on that's interesting. Like the wreckable object gain a short burst of speed is actually kind of useful in a lot of areas because there's a lot of destructible stuff, so I can, get moving pretty quickly with that. Cold skills deal 17 more damage. I like that. But the other stuff I don't care about. Like I would much rather not have those mods on this item and have something else. I can't even think of anything else because this is such a vanilla game when it comes to item modifiers. Maybe attack speed. I would like that. The things that I want movement speed and attack speed. I can't add any more movement speed because I'm already capped out. So what I've been doing is sitting at 14%. Wait a minute. I think that's no, that's not too high because I've got 11% on my boots. So that puts me at 25%. So at some point in time, I'm going to roll that 11% movement speed off of this item and roll it for VIT. Like that's the only thing that I'm going to get out of this is that I can remove movement speed from my boots. Because I'm going to be at 25%, which is still like, retardedly slow. This is the fastest my character moves without some sort of outside effect. That's slow. That's slow. Come on, Blizzard, look at that. That is slow. That is slower than the slowest base speed for Diablo 2. I don't know why, because like I thought it might have been a frame rate thing. You guys don't want people to run up against frame rate problems. But I've had faster movement speed, like been near a monk that gives me a bonus. and had those shrines that give you the fastest movement speed, causes no problem at all. And I'm not even playing on a very powerful machine. So there is no excuse for the cap of movement speed except that you want to cripple the player's ability to play the game. It sucks. It's really like that movement speed thing just is the I want to choke one of the developers over that. Like, you asshole, why do you have to be such a fucking dickhead? And that's how I feel. You know, the fact that I have to have the same mods on every single item. This was a huge complaint all the way up to Loot 2.0. And what did they do? They said, okay, well, now you have to do it even worse because we're going to lower all the mods so that now you have to have that on every item or else you'll suck. You won't be able to kill anything. And I can only, you know, I'm sure that there's some players that'll go, oh, you can do this and this and you can get more damage. But really, how much more damage? Like, this here, I can get 100% critical hit damage increase out of this. And I can get that critical hit chance up to 10%. And there's a couple items like that where I have kind of low, like this one's 26% and it could be 50%. So I can get it up to, I'm guessing, probably around 1 million before I do this. So I might be able to get up to like 1.4 million. But that still doesn't convince me that I'm going to be able to kill anything in Torment 4. And with 300,000 life, I don't want to even go near anything higher than Torment 2. Torment 2 I can do okay in. Like, I'll die once in a while, you know, and it's not horrible. I've also had to sacrifice resistance to all. I can get up to 1600 on some things with my energy armor, which they nerfed. So, you know, philosophically, Blizzard nerfs everything that works. and then makes you do what they want you to do. It's like there's a very narrow build path in this game. It's critical hit chance. You know, critical hit damage and critical hit chance. And if you can afford to sacrifice VIT for attack speed, you can go ahead and do that. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people take the VIT and the resistance to all over attack speed. But I don't want to do that. So if I was doing the design of this game, I would get rid of all the stats on items, except for on legendary items, to make the legendary items cooler than normal base rare items. I've never liked the propensity towards resistance to all either. It's like another vanilla mod. It's like, okay, well, resistance to all, so you have to have that on everything. To me, resistance to all should never be 1/4 what, like this one's 135 physical resistance. So to me, resistance to all should never be higher than 40. Or even like 35, maybe. Something like that. So that way you could get the same, you know, if you spread out your resistances and decided I want to focus on this particular one instead of just having, you know, like, here's the way that Blizzard thinks. Is like, you're going to play the game and you're going to eventually end up with the exact same gear as everybody else because there's only one thing per mod set that works. And the difference is when you get, you know, like the way that you're going to have a difference in character builds is because you're going to go for some legendaries that have useful bonus mods. Like I have this, you know, like I'll eventually have Tal Rashes, but I don't have enough pieces of the set to get the right. Actually, do I? I thought I saw that I got 500. I must have been looking at something else. Yeah, okay. Well, I kind of like the Firebird because it gives me that 500 intelligence. You know, people are going to be going for the odd mods, like the electrocute can chain. You know, if somebody's making an electrocute build, they might like that. I like these arm guards because they give me that burst of speed. I would rather just have faster movement speed and not have to worry about getting it off of this item, but you know, to me that's the design flaw, is that they've so heavily weighted, you know, like the reason why they got rid of attack speed, which is what they effectively did, is they nerfed the crap out of it, and they removed the base attack speed, or lowered the base attack speed, and then nerfed the crap out of the rolls that you would get, because they were up to like 11%. They started out at up to 25%, and then they lowered it to 8%, 11 to 8 to 11%, and then they lowered it even further. So now it's like 5 or 6% on rings, and you know, this they're going backwards. The reason why they got rid of that is because they're like, well, people are just focusing on attack speed. So what they did is they made it so that everybody has to focus on critical damage. And it's not just critical hit chance, but it's critical hit damage. Every weapon has to have this. There's no getting around it. You can't not have a weapon with critical hit increased with the emerald in it. It doesn't need to be a high level emerald, because you only get 10%. Actually, I think it's 5% per level. So throwing just a regular marquee amulet in there, or emerald in there, is fine. That gives you 110%, and that's going to be basically half to a third of what you have in your bonus. I've got 313%, 45% critical chance, and 313%, and I can barely kill things in Torment 3. So there's a, like, basically what they're saying is that you have to max those mods out, or else you're not going to be able to do anything, and you have to sacrifice attack speed for Vit, or else. And that's bad. That is a seriously bad design philosophy, because now nobody can do anything else. If you make an attack speed character, you're never going to do any damage to anything. And like what I mean, you're not going to do any damage to anything. You won't see the health bar moving on those enemies. Like I was stunned at Torment 3. My monk was doing like 0 damage, and I was like, "What the hell is the deal here?" And it was because of this critical nonsense. Every character has to get built like a barb. I hate that. It's bogus. It's lazy and it's bogus. It's unimaginative and boring. So you're never going to get me excited about this itemization. And the fact that they went from what was horrible and said, okay, well, we're going to get rid of a bunch of mods, they've gone even worse. Now it just sucks. It sucks horribly. Like, it was horrible before, but had like sparks of interesting in it. And now it's just dumb. Like, really, you guys went this route? Like, were you paying, like, you seem to care what people say on the forums, because you respond to them and go, hey, you know, like, well, what do you guys think about this? So are you really listening? Or are you going like, hey, they want to do this, so let's do the opposite, and then maybe less people will play the game, and then we won't have to pay for a large server farm? Or we could dedicate our interests on the games we actually like, StarCraft and World of Warcraft. You know, when I play this game, I don't feel like I'm hating on it. There are some fun aspects of the game, and the frustration for me is that it's like they purposely make this game mediocre by skipping over so many interesting things that could be done with this game to make it so damn simple and boring. And I've said in another video, this must be like part of the sort of conspiracy world where they want people to think that they're part of the New World Order or something, where they like, we're not going to do anything that's going to cause people to think. We don't want people thinking, because people that are smart are a threat to like us who think that we're smart. So if we start doing things that make them think, then they're going to be analytical. They're going to use, logic, and they're going to start seeing through the propaganda and stuff like that. We don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is, anytime that people have to make a decision, well, we're going to take the decision process away from them so that they can just do what they're supposed to do. Do what you're told, slave. And that really is what I feel like is going on here. And I see this in every single game, where like Marvel Heroes, for instance, there was like a sort of time in the beta phase when they were working on the game, and there was like a lot of decisions that you had to make. And then the game came out, and it was different. It was like you had to kind of go this one route with all your characters, like, basically get all the uniques and for your character, and then you're done. You don't really have to worry about building too much. You just kind of keep killing stuff, and they're going to worry about, like, what you can do after that later. But it was basically the same thing. As you go for critical damages, you go for damage, your bonus damage, damage, and it was like, get rid of attack speed, because that makes people think, like, do I want to have attack speed or do I want to have damage? And that it just never ends with these new games. It's just, why do you even have gear if you want people to be so stupid? And I guess, like, they want to be able to dress their characters up and play dolls with it. Now I'm okay with that, because I kind of like, I've changed the look of most of the gear that I have on to make it look the way I want. But that's like such a minor aspect to me. Like, when I play Diablo 2, I'm just like, wow, man, how can you guys go so far away from what was so well done? Is it ego and hubris that, like, hey, we don't want to do anything that they did. We want to start new and fresh. Well, if that's the case, you failed miserably.
Does not rest. Neither
Because
should
you
we.
basically took a game, you took the philosophy of a Diablo game and claim that you're doing everything fresh, but you're not. You just did exactly what the other game did, but got rid of 90% of it. Oh yeah, you called the mods different things. Oh, and this is clever. Like, the on my dagger, the legendary modifier is that it has a visual effect. Really. Like, I give a fuck about the visual effect. It drips blood on the ground, and it's hardly even noticeable. You can't even really tell. Like, what's the special effect on his shield? Does it drop rocks on the ground? That's what it looks like it's doing. Oh, it doesn't even have one. Okay. Now, see, that's a cool one. Follower cannot die. I like that as a semi-ranged character. Having a guy that goes out there and doesn't die is kind of handy. But the problem is the monsters that completely ignore him and come after me. So what is the point of having a blocker if the blocker can't attract the attention of the enemies? There's another crazy design flaw that, is the douchebaggery of Blizzard. It's like, how come, like, why would we want people to succeed? Why would we want people to use something to their advantage. You know, what we want is we want people to run around and kite things that they can't kill in one hit. And that's the man. I could go on and on about this game. You know, if people think that I'm wrong about the things that I'm saying, you know, please feel free to leave comments in the comment section. You know, I'm pretty sure that I'm not wrong because I've been playing this game, and I don't feel like I'm wrong. I look at other people's, you know, the gear that other people are wearing, and it seems to be either worse than mine or about the same. I'll go through and let you see everything. You know, I could have a better amulet. I agree with that. But I just haven't found anything that I'm willing to put on over this. I probably could have better armor, but I want that 500 intelligence. I want the attack speed. Yeah, I could swap this and this out for Talrosh's. And get that cold, that 5% bonus damage. Like I could swap, you know, the Kane's helmet and that belt out and not even lose the real bonus that I'm after, which is that 8% attack speed. Eventually I plan to swap this out for a mirror ball. I just haven't found one yet. And I'm trying. I do rift runs all the time and then sell everything for shards to try to get it, but I just haven't got it yet. I found a few other ones. I guess I sold them all. This triumvirate here was probably better if it had higher damage on it. And a socket. Actually, no, I think mine is better. That three arcane power is good. That doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually does have an effect. I had something that had a bit higher than that. I think it was 5 or something, and it actually did make a pretty good difference. Like I would probably get rid of that increased spectral blade damage for something more useful.
I cannot follow you if we just stand around.
And I like being an ice build because I can kind of freeze things where they stand while they attack. Most of the bonus mods on these items are kind of dumb. Like the 4 set when you die. Well, I don't plan on dying, so who cares? Like, is that the same mod on a hardcore character? Like, I had a weapon that had its legendary modifier was that it laughs at me when I die. Really? I hope that the person that made the decision to put that on an item, I hope they, like, you know, trip and fall down a flight of stairs and break one of their hands. And I really do. Like, I curse them to have a fall. I don't want them dead or crippled or anything, but broken hand, yeah,
Hey lady,
you can have
I got
that
some
because
new
that's
things.
really
I may
douchebaggery.
look small, but I'll hurt you.
And
if you try
douchebags
to
should
fight.
have things like that happen to them. I'm an asshole. I know I'm an asshole. I just can't. I can't just sit there and like be a fanboy. You know, I don't excessively complain about stuff. But when people are douchebags, I call them out on being douchebags. I don't like being, people lying to me. I don't like people screwing with me. And this game has that, where there definitely is an attitude from the developers of this game where they just don't want people to do unique things. They want people to just do whatever everybody else is doing so that they can keep their little statistical models. you know, Anybody that touches a calculator when designing a game should just get run over by a bus. We don't need those people on the planet. It's like these think tanks where they have these assholes that try to quantify the behavior of people. And, there's a lot of morons on this planet, basically because of think tanks screwing up the school systems. It's like they realized back in the 70s that they couldn't actually quantify the behavior of people statistically. So they made the decision to make them dumber. And this isn't a conspiracy theory, this is completely provable. By removing things like teaching people logic and how to use logic to analyze information, punishing people for using logic as an argument against bullshit. And they've done a pretty good job of it. I mean, I graduated from high school in the 80s. So I was subjected to this too. But I've learned since school how to use logic, and I've gotten pretty good at it. I understand when something is flawed. And when I talk to people that are like 10 years younger than me and 20 years younger than me, I can see the progression where they've just perpetuating the same process that I was faced with. I went to a lot of different schools, so I actually saw it when I was going through school myself. Where some schools and some teachers were more free to kind of teach the way they wanted to teach, and then some were just sort of drones that were following a curriculum, and they wouldn't kind of go outside of that curriculum. Even when you asked them questions, they would just kind of blow you off, or be quiet, Chris, stop asking questions that make sense. That's why I dropped out of school. It wasn't because I was lazy or anything. I just got frustrated with the whole process of being programmed. I don't like programming. It's probably why I very seldom watch TV. When video games first came out, in the not first came out, like in the 80s, they were obviously geared towards kids, but there was an educational aspect, and the games actually were kind of challenging. They tested your patience and things like that. Then through the 90s and into the early 2000s, the game makers understood that players wanted complexity and depth above all else. The graphics were important only because they needed to be competitive with the hardware that was out there. But that was a very shallow requirement. Diablo 2 has as many players as Diablo 3. Why? Because that game it caters to an intelligent person, somebody that uses logic, that likes to be challenged intellectually on how to make decisions. And those type of players get very frustrated with a game like Diablo 3 because it doesn't challenge you intellectually at all. There's zero challenge. intellectually in this game. You don't need to make any decisions. It's really a matter of, you know, repetitively digging out the same item over and over again, hoping. So it's like a gambler's addiction more than it's actually a challenge. Like digging out the items that might have slightly higher mods on it, and
The darkness grows
mixing
while
that in
we
with a bunch of
stand about.
bogified items that just don't have the right mods on them. Because you're only going for one set of mods. Even on the uniques, if they have 3 random mods on it, that means that you need those 3 specific mods, and they're just screwing with you because they don't want you to find this type of item very quickly. You need strength, you need vit, you need critical hit, you need attack speed. You need critical hit damage. That's it. You know, resistance to all. You can swap out resistance to all for attack speed. And that's what you're after. There's 5 mods that you're after. Primary, vit. Critical hit, critical damage, attack speed. Everything else is a wash. Like they're just junk mods. So if you're wondering, Blizzard, why people are bored, why people have a boredom thing with this game, it's because, like I just said, there's 5 or 6 mods that a player is going to target, and they're going to go for those mods on the unique items that they're intending on wearing. Like if they want a set, well, they want those mods on that set. And that's boring, because once they get those mods, they don't really care how high they are. Like they'll take like, you know, okay, well, I'm gonna have to either re-roll this mod. You know, like one of my uniques has 651 or something like that on it. 630. I think that can go up to 750. I'm not 100% sure on that, but some of them are a whole lot lower than they can be. I think this one is one where that can be 750. So I can get an extra 100 on that. And I think this one can be 752. So I can get an extra 120 on that. I might be wrong on that. It might be 700. But at any rate, am I going to sit here and keep re-rolling these canes just to get that, you know, slightly higher intelligence? Is that the point of this game? It's to get to it's not to find the item. It's to keep finding the same item over and over again until you get that maxed mod on it. Now in Diablo 2, that was sort of a thing. Like if you wanted T-Gods, actually that wasn't called Titans. If you wanted Titans, you would try to find one that had 200%, and then you would up it if you were on ladder. And that was like the sort of game that you would play. You would get somewhere around 195% or higher, and you'd be happy, and then you would go ahead and up it. A lot of people would wait until they found one that was 200% before they would up it. Or they would trade away the other ones once they found a 200%er or whatever. And it wasn't that expensive to up them, so you didn't really worry about it too much. I think it took a lem or something like that. There was 2 runes that you had to use, and one of them was like a lem, and that's not a totally rare one, but it's rare enough that, you know, you don't just do it on every item you find. But this game took that to such a high level because really every item is the exact same item, and you know, you're just going for these minuscule upgrades. Even if you consider prior to patch 2.0. It was the case then, but it's even worse now because there's like a much more minimal amount of things that you can do with your character than there was before. So I asked Blizzard, well, why do you even have any variation on things? Why not just have the same mods on every item and then people can run around trying to find higher mods? You know, because there are some slight variations. Like you can't find attack speed on bracers unless like there's like one there's one unique one that has that on it. Yeah, so boring. Do you think that people complain about being bored? This is why the game's boring, is because you're still locked into this stupid stat on item system. And that only gives players so much maneuverability when it comes to the other things. Like this cold damage bonus, that's a good kind of mod because it works across all classes. And the critical hit chance, you know, is fine because it works across all classes. But those other two things are just dumb because those are things that should be on the character itself. You could get rid of one of them. Say like, you know, Vit would probably be the more popular one because people want to have life. Nah, I don't even feel like talking anymore.